everyone, I'm Edyta Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts. Welcome to Quilting Window and welcome to our new quilt along called Tahoe. I am so happy you joined us in. Today's video is our housekeeping video. We're gonna talk about fabrics, tools, strip cutting, and basic techniques. Are you in? I'm so excited for you. This beautiful quilt, Tahoe, is hanging right behind me. This quilt is made with diamonds and strip piecing. There is no Y seams in this quilt, so I know you can have fun and do it with me really easily. We have multiple color options for this quilt, and the one behind me is this one called Tahoe. Is the basic one. It's in blue and white. We have a kit and we have a pattern matching to it. Another option, color option that we have is our Tahoe English Garden. Is the newest collection we have available. The pattern is also available on our website, and as you can tell, it's just beautiful. So you can choose from that option if you would like. I chose the Tahoe Primrose option. We have this kit available on our website, and we do have the pattern, and this is the one that I'm going to be using, and I'm gonna be working on my blocks. But if you choose any color option, just follow your pattern and the simple technique and quilt with me, and let's make diamonds together, and later on we're gonna put them to a beautiful quilt like this. So I'm gonna put my kit to the side, and now I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the tools that we have. We're gonna need thread, and you can choose either a box of thread like this called English Garden, and in this box of thread you have a nice variety. This is the newest threads that we have available, and especially this one will go well with our English Garden kit. Or you can choose a basic one spool of 2370 or 2312. This is a little lighter, this is a little darker. Both of those threads will work great for you. Hide the seams. When I work with my Tahoe Primrose, I like to use the little bit darker thread. For the video, I use the little bit lighter thread so you can see my threads. But if I want to hide my threads, I would have gone for the little bit darker one. Now, another thing that I would recommend is our template. The template will come like this with paper on it. You will peel the paper away, and then you can see the lines right here, and also it tells you the measurements: 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, and of course the width here is 4.5, and those are the measurements that we're gonna be using when cutting units. You can if you do not want a template, you can use a regular ruler, and my favorite is this one. It's the 12.5 by 4.5. Why? Because 4.5 is the width of our largest diamonds. So this will work really nice, and it's small enough that I can maneuver on my table and cut very easy. So either one of those will work, and I'm gonna show you cutting with both the ruler and the template. Now, other tools that we're gonna need is rotary, small scissors. I like my handy dandy little pressing tool, marking pencil if you would like to mark points. I love pins, and I love the patchwork pins, and if you would like to, maybe a fabric markers just for you so you don't get lost if you want to mark some fabrics. We're gonna be working on one block at a time for 24 days, and I think you would be just fine. And in one block you have on average between 3 to 6 fabrics at the most. So now, speaking of fabrics, I'm gonna take my kit. If you wanted to, you can starch your fabrics, or you can use best press and press your fabrics to give a little bit more stiffness. With diamonds and 45-degree cuts, it's important that your fabric has a little bit more stiffness so it doesn't stretch when you're working with the fabrics. You're gonna start by pulling the first page number 2. On a page page number 2, you have all your fabrics, and under each fabric, it gives you fabric measurements for cutting. And it's super simple. I'm gonna look at my print one, and it tells me that I'm going to need 23 1.5-inch strips by 21 inches. Now hold on 1 second. When you cutting your fabric, you're gonna cut your strip width of fabric first, okay? Width of fabric, and then you're gonna fold it exactly in half, take a pair of scissors and cut it. This should be at least 21 inches, 21 inches from here to here. On average, fabric width is 44 inches, so half of it is 22. With a little salvage edge, I would say usable 21 3/4. So right there, we have beautiful strips. And remember that in a direction, when it tells you 23 strips, 1.5 by 21, you just have to think about it that you get 2 strips out of every cut. So I'm only gonna need to cut 12 strips, then section them to those 1.5 by 21 inches. Next strip that I need would be 2.5-inch strips, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Cut it with a fabric and then section in half, so I have at least 21 inches. All right, next one is our 3-inch strip. Right there, 3-inch strip, and that one as well needs to be 21 inches. So I cut it. Look at this. I cut it full width. Now I'm gonna fold it nicely together, salvages match all of it, and then I'm gonna take my scissors and go ahead and cut right here on the top, because I want this to be at least 21 inches. Now the last strip is very important, that the 4.5-inch strip is at least 21 3/4 inch. So I'm cutting 20 width of fabric, and I want to show you this. I'm gonna push those to the side. I'm gonna cut width of fabric. Okay, look at this. Fold it in half, and now make sure that it's exactly folded in half. I'm gonna cut this apart right here, so I get at least 21 3/4. If your strip is 21 or 21 1/4, there is a fix for it. Do not worry. When your strip is not 21 3/4, all that you have to do when you cutting your units, when you place your ruler, and this is how we're gonna be placing our ruler, okay? And we're gonna go ahead and grab a rotary. I'm gonna first start by trimming this edge. Okay, look at, I trimmed this edge. Now I know in my pattern I'm gonna be needing in one of the blocks, this is generic informations, for one of the blocks I'm gonna need 1.5-inch units. 1.5-inch units. Did you see how easy I moved this? And look at, I have my lines. My straight line tells me where the 1.5-inch is. My dotted line symbolize where I'm gonna be stitching. I'm gonna lay this really nice, and I'm going to start cutting. And if I wanted to, when I started it, my strip, I could have shifted this and did not have a bunny ear. This point right here is not necessary, but let me show you. If I'm cutting it, and I'm gonna cut 8 units like this, okay? Because we're gonna be making every single diamond that we're making, all 24 blocks, we're gonna make 8 of each of those blocks. Why? Because we making 8 big 8-point star, so we need it to be on 8 sides, and I'm just gonna keep going and just trying to fit my 8 beautiful cuts. And look at it, another one right there, another one. Let me keep cutting because I want to show you guys how I do this. I'm matching it up really nice with the line and keep cutting. I'm so excited. This ruler is really nice. I have to count 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, I need 3 more, so let's do this. 3 more just to check that everything fit. But in this case, only on this strip, it's gonna be low tight, so you have to be careful not to trim too much at the beginning. Even if you have to position your ruler to move a little bit further so you don't have bunny ears, and this is my 8th cut. Look at this, is my 8th cut. So there was definitely enough of fabric on my strip. Now, if you ever too short, remember that you can position your ruler, that if there is no fabric here, or if you laying your ruler and your little tip has to go into the salvage edge, this is okay, because this is gonna be trimmed off anyway later on when you're trimming bunny ears. So most important is that you fit all 8 beautiful cuts. And did you see how I cut this? All 8 beautiful cuts, so that way I'm ready, set, go for my block. So only that 4.5-inch strip, you have to be very careful, and normally you should not have any problems, but if you do, pay attention to it. And just checking, you can always draw the line, make sure that it fits. But if your strip is 21 3/4, you should be just perfect. So now once you have your fabric cut, you're going to go ahead and follow directions for each individual block. And I have just generic directions that I really wanted to go over with you. We're gonna be making strip sets before we cutting our diamond from some of the strips. Some strip sets gonna be made from 4 strips. Some gonna be made from 3 strips, because we're gonna be using 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. Some strip sets gonna be only made from 1 strip, that 4.5 that I just showed you, and I cut it with you. Let's try one that is 4 different strips. Each strip is 1.5 inch. Let's practice one to see how we sew those together and how we cut them. So are you gonna follow directions in the pattern? We will not be providing those recipes to you on the blog or through the video. You have to have the pattern to know the recipes. I think it's so much easier because you can cross it off, and it's so much nicer, and we appreciate you getting the pattern from us. So now I selected 4 strips, and I'm gonna line them up to get them ready to sew them together into the beautiful strip panel. I always keep my cut edge on one side and my salvage edge on the opposite side. I pay attention. If my strips are 1.5, I offset it by 1 inch, okay? Offset it by 1 inch. I lined my pieces just to check my colors, pay attention to the pattern, and each pattern, like I said, for each block, give you the exact recipe, what size and which color strip you needed. As soon as I lay it out, everything is great. I'm gonna take 2 strips, put them right sides together. Like I said, offset by 1 inch. You can measure that. Take your ruler and measure it. Why do I offset? Because later on when I cut on 45-degree angle, I don't want to waste. All that I'm going to do is start stitching right here and stitch all the way down. Very important that you use Macrotex needle. I like the thinner needle, the 70 size. I think it works wonderful. And I'm gonna put my ortho thread on the top and the bottom in my bobbin. Now I'm gonna make my stitches length a little bit smaller. Why? Because I'm sewing strip sets that I'm going to be cutting, and I don't want the fabric to come apart as I'm working with it. So making the stitch half notch down. For example, if your stitches are at 2.5, go down to 2. If they're 1.5, go down a half, just a little bit smaller. I'm telling you, it's gonna work beautiful. You don't want to build up a thread. You don't want to have too much bulk in your seams. You just want a little bit closer. So pay attention to that. It's not like paper piecing. So just tiny bit smaller stitches, so that way they hold really nice for you the units together. You're gonna place them together, stitch. As soon as you stitch, you're gonna press the seam open. You're gonna do that to the other two strips. Place them right sides together, stitch, and press it open. Then you're gonna take the sets of two, place them together, sew it, and press the seam open. I know you are excited about this and you want to see how I did it. Look at this. I just finished mine. Isn't that lovely? And when I press, I made sure I kept this really nice on my cutting board and finished pressing with a little steam on the back and on the front to make sure that everything is nice and straight and beautiful. Now I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna start with a ruler, and then I'm gonna show you how to do the same thing with the template from the other side. So you get the two options. Is that okay with you guys? So look at this. I'm laying my unit, right, my strip set right on my cutting board, and the first thing that I want to find is my 45-degree angle on my ruler. It's right there. I'm gonna place that 45-degree line with the bottom of my strip set. I'm placing with the bottom, and I'm bringing it as close as I can to my edge right here. I'm gonna use my rotary, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. Trim this off. I'm gonna trim this off. Now I'm gonna go ahead, and now I know I have to be cutting 1.5-inch unit. I'm gonna just move my ruler this way. My line is still exactly where it needs to be, and I'm gonna match this line for 45-degree now with the middle seam right there. It could be middle, it could be bottom. I want to fit really nicely, so I'm going for the middle seam. I'm going to now make sure that right here I have the distance of 1.5. Sometimes you're gonna be cutting a bigger pieces, so this is just as an example for this one. Okay, so each block is gonna give you the idea how much you have to cut, and I'm gonna show you that in just a moment too, because I have a second strip set for you that we're gonna cut it at 2.5. So don't worry, but for this one, 1.5. I'm making sure the width right here is 1.5. Do not make the mistake and measure here. Please do not. When you cutting diamonds, if the strip is 1.5, the width of this unit needs to be 1.5. All right, everything is laying nice, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. This is lovely, and I forgot to tell you guys, it is really nice to get a brand new rotary, blade in your rotary, because when you're cutting diamonds, you really want to be accurate in laying your ruler, making sure that all the 45-degree edge is matching up, and you have a beautiful cuts. And you're gonna keep going like this till you cut all of your units, and you should be able to get 8 cuts out of one panel like this if you cutting 1.5 inch. If it's bigger, we have that explanation for each block, and you're gonna get up to 4 to 6, depends on the size. Okay, but here we definitely can get 8. Now I have promised to you to show you how to cut with your ruler, because you're super excited about it, and I know a lot of you guys have purchased this cute little ruler. This is so amazing. I love it. So again, this time it's so easy because I can match on the top, I can match on the bottom right here. I place my ruler, I bring it up all the way to the edge. This is wonderful, wonderful. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab my rotary and trim it. Once I trim it, I'm ready, set, go, and now I can look at, okay, I'm cutting 1.5 right here, 1.5. Let me shift my little diamond template. Let me shift it, match it up, match the top, match the bottom. Beautiful. Now it's time to cut. Isn't that nice? Look at this, another gorgeous piece. It does not matter. And just so you see, those are the same. Those are the same. I've just rotated, okay? So do not worry. You can cut once you piece it correctly. Once you offset and piece it correctly, you have no choice but cut your diamond the right way. Your diamond sets right there. Another nice cut just to show you two of them. Look how simple and how fun. I really like cutting with this little tool. If your tool is moving too much, you can put a double sticky tape on the back just to stick to this beautiful panel. But either way, ruler or template, it will work great for you guys. So this is how you cutting those units. I promise you to show you this unit right here, this strip panel. So in this case, I had a 1.5 inch, then I had a 2.5 inch, then again 1.5 inch. So look at it. I offset it 1.5, I offset it 1 inch for the 1.5. I offset it 2 inches for the 2.5. And now look, I can go ahead, take my template, place it right over, just like this. All right, beautiful, match everywhere. And look at, not much waste, not much waste. I could, if I want to, even shift myself further down all the way to those points, because guess what, I'm not gonna need this bunny ears. This point is important. It's important that I have a 1/4 inch seam allowance away from this point, but this low point is gonna be cut off eventually. But here I'm gonna trim it, and now I can go ahead and move my ruler. But this time, this unit, let's say I needed 2.5. 2.5. So look how easy. I just found a 2.5 right there, match it up with this line, and I'm ready, set, go, and cut. So very important that you prepare your strip sets every morning, cut them, and then you're ready to make beautiful star in the afternoon. By the time it's time for cooking your dinner and getting ready for the evening. So this is how you're going to be cutting your pieces. Another advice that I want to give it to you guys, when you making your blocks, I like to cut all my strips following that first page one by one, have them sitting, but then select for each block as I go. Oh, you can go ahead and select for your blocks, set them nicely together, and you're gonna be ready to enjoy our quilt along. I hope this little video answers a lot of your questions, and I hope you get your fabrics, take the courage, and create a beautiful star with me. Now, just remember, if you worry about it and this is your first time, use some scrap fabrics, practice one block, create like the humble beginnings for yourself, and then you can go ahead and get right into cutting your beautiful fabric and working on your beautiful blocks. I love this template. In our next video, when I'm making your first block, I'm gonna show you how I use this template to check my measurements and trim it and make sure that everything is perfect. Happy quilting, and I look forward to quilting with you on now our new Tahoe quilt along.